Obviously, I'm a pretty huge fan of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX Tag Force 3. It is without a doubt my #1 Yu-Gi-Oh! Video game and probably in my top 10 video games of all time if I'm being honest. But what if I told you that this 15-year-old PSP Yu-Gi-Oh! Tie-in game actually has received some updates in recent years that have made it even better? In this video, I just want to showcase some of the amazing work that has been done on this game, and give you a basic walkthrough of how you can get this set up for yourself. All you're going to need to be able to set this up is just the PPSSPP PSP emulator, installed on a device that's powerful enough to run it, of course. The first and main thing I wanted to talk about is the new version of the Japanese game. Clickclaxer 01 has created an English patch for the Japanese ISO, and this version has a brand new English translation created from the ground up. This new English patch, I believe, originally released back in 2021, but it actually got a pretty recent update that fixed a few minor issues. Now, I will mention that Clickclaxer 01 has worked on a handful of Tag Force games in the past. I believe he's put in work to translate Tag Force 6 and Tag Force 7. And some of the translation work he's done on those games did receive a bit of criticism for their inaccuracies. And I have noticed a few issues in this one too. But for the most part, it's not too bad, honestly. I think it is pretty faithful. Outside of a handful of examples, at least, that I can think of off the top of my head. But the part that makes it way better is the star of the show, the HD texture pack that he has handmade to go along with this new ISO. Setting this up is super simple. All you need to do is go down to the description. I'm going to have a link to his video that he made about this most recent update, and in the description of that video, you will find links to the Google Drive where you can download both the game ISO and the texture pack. For installing the texture pack, all you need to do is go to the folder where your emulator is installed and create a textures folder if you don't have one already, and then extract the contents of the 7Z file that you downloaded from the Google Drive into that textures folder. At this point, you can go ahead and load up the game, go to the emulator's settings, navigate to the Tools section, and then click on Developer Tools and enable the option called Replace Textures. And that's honestly about it. Once you've done that, your game should look something like this. But there are a few tweaks that you might want to make based on your preferences, so I just wanted to show you a few things that you can change. Now, one thing you might notice is that in the files for this texture pack, there are regular files, and then there are files that have a -compressed at the end of the file name. These folders contain exactly what you would expect. These are just compressed versions of the assets used for the texture pack. These can be used if you just want to save some storage space, as it reduces the file size on a lot of the card images by a massive amount, or if you're running the game on a somewhat lower powered device that's maybe struggling a little bit to pull all of the high-res textures. To use the compressed files, simply delete the original files and then rename the compressed ones to remove the -compressed from the file name. And voila, there you go, you've just saved on a bunch of space. This is my go-to for that exact reason, and I really don't think you lose much in terms of quality, but check out this side-by-side to compare for yourself. Now, other than that, there are a couple of other small tweaks that I recommend. Firstly, if you're like me, you may not care for the White Magician Pikachu sleeves that are added on the back of the cards. To change this, all you need to do is go to the Cards Frames folder and then simply remove the Card Large and Card Small files, and then rename the files titled Card Small 0 and Card Large 0 to remove the 0 from the end of the file name. This will give you an HD texture for the classic card backs, which I think looks great. And if you're like me, while I definitely appreciate the work that's been done to spruce up the dual field, it's just a little bit bright for my tastes. I prefer the more simplistic design of the original dual field. So all you have to do to change it back to the original is go into the files and rename the Field Zone folder to just something else. And just like that, you're back to the original dual field. While I do prefer it with these couple of small tweaks, I gotta say the texture pack definitely has a lot of quality stuff here. Not only do you have the absolutely gorgeous looking HD textures for the card images, both in hand and on field and in the little display window on the left side, you've got some absolutely beautiful new assets with things like the level stars, the monster types, and the attributes being completely updated. There is a completely updated main menu, updated icons for the turn phases, and even an updated little card ejector for the loading screens. But without a doubt, my favorite change in this entire texture pack has to be the new sprites for the cards in the deck edit screen. Everything is just so much clearer visually, and I just love how it all looks. It's so awesome. At this point, I don't really have a whole lot else I can really say to show how good this texture pack is, so here's just a little bit of gameplay for you.
身の程を思い知らせてやる。俺様のターン。ドロー。さあ行け。モンスターを攻撃表示で召喚だ。戦闘だ。行け。モンスターで攻撃。効かんわ。カードをセット。ターンエンドだ。
Now, you might be saying to yourself, that all looks great, but what if I don't want to play the Japanese version? Maybe, like me, you've sunk a lot of time into playing the European version of the game, you have a save file that you're really attached to that you don't want to lose. Well, you're in luck, because we actually have an option for the European version of the game as well. Firstly, if you didn't know already, there's actually been a patch released for Tag Force 3 that re-enables the Japanese voice acting that was removed from the original English release. So if you are playing on the European version and you want to have better dual animations with actual voice acting, I highly recommend downloading a patched ISO for this or patching one yourself. As far as the texture pack goes, you can use Chrisfand's HD texture pack. This is going to be set up and installed the exact same way as before, and you'll get to enjoy the game with some absolutely beautiful new card textures. One thing that's really cool about this pack that's not in the previous one is that with this you have the option between anime style card arts or the original TCG art. It's super easy to swap between them. All you have to do is rename the .ini files, set the one you actually want to use to textures.ini, and then rename the other file to something else. And just like that, load up the game and you'll have the other version. This texture pack looks absolutely amazing as well, but there are a few things that I don't like quite as much. There are various things that were changed in the first texture pack that this one just doesn't have. So no updated tiny cards in the deck edit, and no real changes to the UI or other assets other than just the cards themselves. Additionally, this texture pack is a little bit incomplete. There are a handful of cards that don't have updated textures. This is mostly the anime exclusive stuff. And unfortunately, I have noticed a small handful of cards that have completely incorrect card arts. For example, Book of Life, for some reason, has the art for a Performapal monster, which should absolutely not be in the game. Most of your duels are gonna look just fine, but I think it is worth noting that these problems do exist. Don't get me wrong though, I still definitely prefer it over the original graphics. I mean, it still looks absolutely great. Anyways, that about wraps it up for this little video. I just wanted to share these little updates with you guys because I think they're super awesome and I've really been enjoying using them. The links to everything you need will be down in the description to get this all set up. It's super easy. Shout out to the original creators. Of course, this is absolutely amazing that they've put all this time and effort into updating this really niche PSP game. I just hope you guys have as much fun with these mods as I have. If you enjoyed this video or found it informative, leave a like to let me know. And don't forget to subscribe for more Tag Force content. I've got a lot more videos on the way. I have a few new deck showcases lined up, as well as a few new series that I might be starting soon. So stay tuned and I'll see you again soon.